So today I would like to talk about the show Pennyworth. And if you haven't watched or heard about this show, you really need to watch it, particularly because this is the backstory to Batman. In the United States, we focus very much on Batman because that's where it comes into our sphere of understanding. So New York City is Gotham City, and there's this butler called Pennyworth. And we look at the butler and we like him and we try to understand, but we notice that he knows everything. He's equipped with everything and he's prepped for whatever Batman needed. And actually, I don't think Batman can do it without him. So here is the backstory behind it. And actually, it's a really well-made story. It's the production, the storyline, the presentation, and the development of characters I thought was really very interesting. And I think it was not really promoted heavily. I don't know why. It really should have been. And I think more people should watch it and get a better understanding because this comes under the category of the man in the high castle scenario. And this is an alternate reality that can be explored and also understood in a sense of what could have happened or what might have happened elsewhere. And that's what makes it interesting. Not to mention the development of the characters and why Batman emerges in the way that he does. He becomes this prominent character not just because that he came from this wealthy family and that he's a do-gooder, but rather, or just sometimes we focus on the trauma that he went through, where he survives a really fatal attack and they kill his parents right in front of him. But there are a lot of people that have gone through severe trauma and still do not have the wherewithal to come and rise above that and also be able to be this type of superhero that we understand. So, for many of us that talk about superheroes or super soldiers or those that are here to assist the planet in some way, it's a great story. It really is. And how Pennyworth develops is kind of this guy that was involved with the military initially. He was a soldier. And you can see he struggles with being a soldier. There are times where he's triggered. Something else that we're aware of in the super soldier community. And the triggering brings him back into that moment. And he doesn't know really what to do with that moment because he's not there anymore. But all he remembers is the loss of his friends, the loss of these people that were there, the soldiers in arms. And often when we talk about super soldiers, they will bring up incidences. Even Peter the Insider will talk about incidences like, I remember what happened to you. I remember you being there and you're struggling. And it's not just to talk about that they were heroes, but also the trauma and the pain and to sort through it because as you could see throughout the series, it's something that is constantly looming over him like a cloud, which keeps him in this mode of, I have to be a soldier. I have to be here to help out. And he has opportunities to go into a normal life, but he can't. He can't any more than some of us that have enough recall about being in that experience that you remember why you did this. And it wasn't that you were abused. That's something different. I know we keep on going back and forth on that. But the part where you were a soldier and you had made a commitment to do something to help out, And so while we're in this situation, we can look and reflect at Pennyworth and his struggle in this area, and not to mention the others. Now, for some of you that had recently watched the show with Pamela, and how that literally she was this agent working with the agency, we'll say, and also collaborating with MI5 and, interacting, present there, trying to help out both nations to sort everything out as in this timeline, this alternate reality, England goes through a civil war. The Civil War being related to the NAZI um, continuing on after 1945. And so because of that, it actually integrates, and so that it's not a direct attack on England, but rather that they divided England into two different factions, one of them being the Ravens, which are taking these orders or helping the the cause of the Reich. And so this is the playing out of this powerful machine that we understood and kind of brought all of the European nations to their knees for that period of time. And it did end in our reality, but in some other realities, the possibility that it's continuing on, just as Peter said, and not to even discard the idea that it's still trying to bleed through into our present reality, which is another problem. And what can we learn from watching these shows like The Man in the High Castle and Pennyworth is to see some of the operations and the things that are played out in the process. And I should have talked about this show much sooner. I don't know how easy it is for people to be able to watch it because it was created, I believe, in the UK. I don't know. I mean, I was able to get a hold of it. I think other people should be as well. But as I said, I highly recommend it. There's very good character development, and you do understand more of the backstory and how it operates. And it's also you're looking into this other time period. Supposedly this is around 1960s is where it takes place. So there's the Cold War scenario. There's other things also going on at the same time. Let's take a look at it. So the TV show premiered in July 28th, 2019. Talks about exploring the early life of the Wayne family. The butler, Alfred Pennyworth. Usually you know him by the name of Alfred, and he was a British soldier of the Special Air Service, or the SAS, in years before the events of Gotham. He forms his own security company in an alternate history of London, which combines aspects of the mid-1960s with invented events and practices inspired by V for Vendetta, such as a modern civil war and televised public executions. In the first two seasons, Alfred becomes a target of the fascist Raven Society, a group conspiring to take over the British government, working against them with American agents of the CIA-affiliated No Name League. Thomas Wayne and Martha Kane, who Martha Kane ends up marrying Thomas Wayne and having Bruce, aka Batman, and to whom is born his older future long-lost sister, Samantha Thomas Wayne, in the second season finale. So you can see that here's some of the characters, and there's quite a few episodes. So in the DC series Pennyworth, the Nazi reality is established by an alternate history where Germany won World War II, leading to an NAZI-controlled Britain in the 1960s, and the show depicts a version of the 1960s London that combines historical elements with fictional events including the presence of Nazi-aligned forces and a lingering civil war in the aftermath of an NAZI occupation. The series explores this alternate reality through the eyes of Alfred Pennyworth as he forms a security company and becomes involved with the beginnings of the Wayne family. So, as we said, it's an alternate reality. London is under attack. They want to bomb London in the series, just to prove a point. And also, Pennyworth, his father, is actually with the Ravens, which further complicates everything. And I don't want to be a spoiler, but you can see that he is very torn and struggling through all of this. And the show blends the historical presence of the NAZIs with its invented world, featuring themes like the lingering consequences of the war, public executions, civil conflict with the occupied society. Parallel to real-world events, the NAZI reality in the show serves as a backdrop for the developing conflict between Alfred and the shadowy Raven Society and various political factions vying for control in England. So here's some trivia. It's never insinuated if the Chancellor Braun is in the reference to Eva Braun, wife of Adolf Hitler, or Werner von Braun, a high-ranking engineer for Nazi Germany during World War II in the series Alternate History, although the former seems much likely due to Eva having no political background within the party beyond the rank of assistant photographer, whereas Werner had a high rank in the regime, albeit within the technical field. So, yeah, there's someone by the name of Braun that's running everything. And also, there's this weird thing where they mentioned a power sharing agreement that was signed between Chancellor Braun and the Dutch Senate that allowed partial autonomy to the Netherlands, although the Reich still would have had control over the country. So here is the Batman fandom, and there's Alfred, Thaddeus, Crane, Pennyworth is Bruce Wayne's valet at Wayne Manor, and he knows Bruce is secretly Batman and aids him. Alfred Pennyworth, after a varied career, was employed as the Wayne family valet when Bruce Wayne's parents were killed, and Alfred raised the young orphan and reluctantly aided him in a quest to become Batman. His many skills, ranging from cooking to medicine, make him Batman's staunchest ally, along with the former demeanor that grounds the Dark Knight and deflects those who might otherwise suspect Batman's true identity. And this is the part that we all see. This is a part where we see him as an adult, but in the series, you get to see the interaction of him and the young Bruce Wayne and the struggle that the young Bruce Wayne goes through in making some of these decisions that he does that leads up to his career. So many of you said, well, this is just a cartoon, but it has a lot of interesting components, and also it mentions it reveals some soft disclosure regarding some of the things that have gone on in the elite families, and certain elite families that are kind of in the background. Not all of them are bad. Some of them do want to assist and help in some way. You see here that he spends, Alfred remains in England tending his resignation. He spends some time vacationing in Antarctica and the Bahamas before returning to England. You can see that they're interweaving certain truths and things that are happening, not just here, but in other realities, or the bleed through of that, and also these characters that come up. I highly recommend watching the series. And if this is not right for you, at least consider some of the soft disclosure that's going on. And sometimes there are pieces to the puzzle, and that help us to further understand why we have these type of superhero stories. It's a perfect vessel to be able to kind of decrypt and to share information that otherwise can't be presented in a straightforward way. The concept of alternate realities as well as alternate NAZI realities, that's something that a lot of people have been pondering, particularly because of these type of shows, and it makes people aware of how the world could have gone in what direction. The thought of the infiltration of a nation of the NAZIs influencing England to even turn away from their own people, even put their people at risk in danger because of the influence. That type of thing is also happening in nations as we speak today. The influence of groups of people, certain parties that do not have the best interests, that do not have the best interest for their own people. And so that's something that also was very revealing to me. But not to belabor any of this, as I said, check it out, and thank you for listening. Have a good day.